This is the sled that we're making. This is the wood. See, the boys went out and cut down this cedar tree, and we've got about 34 logs there. And what we're going to do is we're going to be ripping it in half. This log was cut last Sunday. As you can tell, cedar loses its color very quickly. If you want to get it to be bright, you got to sand it and then finish it. Anyway, we're going to resaw these logs on this table, and this is a sliding table. I've made it longer than the board so we could actually cut some 4-foot logs. I basically took this and got to beef it up a little bit, put another little extension out here to beef the table up so it doesn't vibrate. And first thing on this rule on this thing over here, you cannot put your hands on this table. Anywhere on this table, none to do this. It stops on the wood, okay?
All right.
This is a bandsaw. It's the safest tool in the shop because it cuts straight down. It rarely hurts anybody unless they're just an idiot and they run their finger through there. I want you to take a Sharpie and cut. There, okay? All right, let's get down there and feed it right through there.
What about Incredible Pizza?
Bring it in here and set it down there.
What about Incredible Pizza?
Why are we doing this, guys?
Oh, because we're going to make a bridge.
No, because this is it needs to dry out. It's got moisture in it, so we sticker it to dry it out. When it gets full again, we'll take another layer and put it over the top of that. Okay. All right. Hi, I'm Mark Jones. I'm the Royal Ranger Commander at Central in Springfield, Missouri, and we've been working on some projects here. And what we did is we took the boys on a timber trip, and we picked up about 34 logs that were 26 inches long, and we fell about 5 little cedar trees that were anywhere from 8 inches in diameter to 14 inches. Most of this wood was probably cut from the bigger logs. Some of the smaller logs I didn't even cut because there were just not a lot of wood you could get out of them. You can see some of these ones on the top here. This is about the most yield I could get out of 1 or 2 boards out of them. A few things that I've never done. One thing is I've never done any resawing of cedar or any wood really. I've heard about it, but I've never done it. And this is the waste. This is the saw. I took the Delta saw and I made a extended table that's 4 foot long, and just the braces fit on there, and it basically bolts to the table through the factory bolting on the table. And I just made sure the saw was square and then made my table off of that, and it actually served pretty well. The boys, I were told the boys that they couldn't put their hands over the table right here on the aluminum part. They can only go to the wood part. And so that worked pretty well. And then I used this stick here to push a log towards the saw kerf, and it worked pretty well. Now, I went on YouTube, and they told me, well, they didn't tell me, but I seen a lot of guys that were making a bandsaw rip fence. Well, these guys had these humongous bandsaws with big motors, and my half-horse motor would not turn, would not cut off of this jig. But I made this jig with the sliding deals. It's 4 foot long, and it will smooth in, and it also goes down the track here with this little guy here. And you know, I found out I really didn't need it. Basically, what I did is I just took the wood, and after I got the first cut, I squared it, and the second cut, I squared it some more. For example, this one here. It's got a cut down the bottom. I would put it on the side, and then I would cut it and get another cut on it, and then pretty soon I could rip a straight board out of it. And the same with these right here. Now this particular one had the chainsaw run down the center. It was cut with a chainsaw like right through here, and this is what's left of one of the bigger boards. But you know, I was pretty impressed that we'd come out with cedar boards and get some nice looking cedar coming out of it. Now the cedar, when you cut it, it is really wet when it's green. Some of these trees were dry. For example, I got a combination of dead trees that are here and green trees. So I had a combination of both. But when you go to cutting this, it's almost a spongy, soaking wet feeling out of some of it. And so there's a lot of difference in the wood as far as green and not so green. What we're going to do with these are, I may be sorry that I didn't check them or seal the ends, but you know, I looked on YouTube and some of them said you did, some of them said they didn't, and they were fine. We'll find out what to do, and it's a lot of work. I've spent several evenings in here after work, a couple hours here and there, and then everything getting together. So I've got a good 20, 30 hours in this project. It's on my own time, but I think it's worth it when we take the boys out and show them and teach them how to do things, and it's worth it. So we're building character, and we're also building some just good time, and hopefully it'll come out and be a benefit to people. See you later. Okay, you need to get back on this line. Okay. And if you got good straight cuts, put them down on the bottom. That'll help it. And then I just put these up here as just like a guy line. And you know, they're in the bark. They're not really getting into the heartwood or anything. And all you're doing with that is just counteracting the weight that you would put on it, the saw. And that's really all there is to it. And then start down through the middle with the saw right down through there. And so if you've got a log that's too big to fit underneath your chainsaw or your bandsaw, get them cut at about 3 feet lengths or so. They get pretty big if you're one guy's trying to handle them. What you do is you just cut right down through the center, put your couple support stabs on there. Now, chainsaws are made for cross cutting. It's not really made for ripping, but you'll lose a little bit out of the bottom of it, but you can manage it and cut it out. Besides that, you're cutting right through the pith, which is right here in the very center, which is not a lot of good wood right there. So, you know, you're not really losing a whole lot there, just a little bit on the edges. And you go down through there and cut that out in the next week or so, and just basically resaw it all down, joint one edge and resaw it, and then I'll sticker it. And it'll go down in size from what we have here. And of course, some of it's not going to be used at all, but some of it, go ahead and resaw it down. Get this resawed down in the next week or two, so I'll keep this ready and get it going. So, there's your lumber. The scab wood is outside the garage. I'll probably cut it into some like 8-inch lengths and let the boys use it in Rangers for Firecraft. That way they can split it. Alright. I am now getting ready to resaw a log. This is a walnut log. It's right at, from top to bottom, right at 11.5 inches with bark on it. And, you know, it's a pretty good sized log. About the same, it's a pretty nice round log. And then it's right at, this one's at about 40 inches long. 42 inches long is what this thing is. So it's a fairly good log. I've got another one over here that's 4 feet long. I'm going to be milling it today as well. I have milled this material this morning. This is the first material that I did resaw, and they started off with blanks. And I have another log that I'm going to resaw, and that's my waste from the other saw. And this is my sled. I've got 2 hydraulic tables that lift the log up, and it allows me to pick the log up over here off this table, then put it on one of these little hydraulic carts set on the wood table, roll it around to the back side, pump it up with a pump on this foot right here, and then roll it off onto this table. Now, the hydraulic pumps are pretty good. They will lose their tension on the tables right here. So every now I left this open so that I can take my table and use it, so I can still use this with the resaw table attached. I had another. Boards that you're cutting, they're right at 1 inch thick. That's the remainder. And if they do fall, they're supposed to fall on the table. And some do, some don't. Some fall off the side. We need to put a couple more stickers in here. Just simply stopping, looking at what you're doing, making a minor modification, and going with it. And I'm sure that the sawyers, they have to do the same thing, even when they're dealing with little chunks of wood the size of 4 feet wide. Now, this would be a little bit of a job if I didn't have Mr. Hydraulic over here lifting this up. So, so I can get a decent bite. Okay, that ought to hold. All right, I'm running this through quite a bit faster. Of course, you don't want to see me dragging this through here a bunch, but anyway, the setup works real good. I am adding a weight on the back side to where it will pull the sled back when I just do a reverse on the winch. Save me some time, and it'll bring it back in there, and I can just cut it, and then the boards will just kind of fall to the side. Anyway, the setup works real well, and as you can see, it's doing a good job of cutting. I cut up 8 cedar logs that were, some of them were 12.5 inches round, and resawed them down. I've got a nice stack of cedar sitting there. I've got walnut that I've done, and I've sawing some oak, and a lot more cedar than any of the other. But anyway, so just having some fun with the Grizzly, and having some fun with the using tools and doing it, and it works out well. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's bring in on that, and away we go. Find out how good a job I did sharpening. this is so that we're basically parallel with the cut. We're going to turn everything back on. Cut again. Yesterday afternoon, about an hour. Keeping in mind that one piece of walnut board, of course that piece is the slab off the back, this is the one that had the rock in it. But anyway, just one of those boards at Menards. You went and bought it off the shelf. It's wrapped in plastic, which is going to be the highest. But a 3/4 inch board, these are 1 inch and 8. 3/4 inch board, 3.5 inches wide by 4 foot long. It's a $25 bill. It's kind of funny. You can hit different parts of wood where this gets hot and or hard, really hard. So it's a project. So now is slide this up 1 inch, and as these logs get a little bit lighter, they move a whole lot less, or a whole lot easier. Again, I'm against that curve, and that down there.